Hello. My next guest is a very distinguished and highly awarded with 300 awards in the advertising industry, Guan Hin Tay. He's an APAC regional director, Hall of Fame inductee, which recognizes his huge contributions in advertising, and an industry influencer of the year. He's also the best-selling author of Collide, Bracing Conflict to Boost Creativity, and he'll tell us all about that. And he's also the past president of Asia Professional Speakers. Welcome to Inspiring You with Sylvia Yu, Guan Hin.
Yeah, really nice to be here with you. Really inspiring. Thank you for
Thank you.
inviting me.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to have you. You've had such a storied career. You're a giant in the advertising space in Asia and globally, really. Tell us what are you working on currently?
Sure. Currently, I'm the APAC Regional Director for the One Club for Creativity. The One Club for Creativity actually is headquarters in New York, and it hosts a lot of award shows like the One Show, the Art Directors Club, and it's one of the best awards program around. I'm actually in charge of the Asia Pacific region. So we host the One Asia Awards, which happens towards the end of the year. So I think building these platforms for One Asia actually helps to bridge leaders and creative agencies together and reset the narrative. Besides, we're also trying to raise up the creative community, which is really important in the age of AI.
Yes. Okay. And we'll get to the AI part and the challenges a bit later. How did you get on your career path? Because in Asia, and I'm speaking for myself, creativity or creative careers aren't the first careers that you think of that our parents encouraged us to go into. So how did you enter your career path? Tell us more about your amazing roles that you've had over the years.
Yeah, I mean, it started actually with a mistake and a collision in my life. You see, because I was born into a family of doctors. My late mom was a doctor. She had a clinic after her named after both her sons. My name is Tay Guan Hin. My brother's Tay Guan Yu. So she named the clinic called Tay Guan Clinic. My brother is now a practicing doctor. And my father is probably the most famous doctor in the family. He has a disease named after him called the Tay syndrome. But for me, unfortunately, I couldn't study. I think at that time, I really wasn't focused and I was the black sheep of the family. But something happened. I love drawing comics and I drew all over my textbooks, and my teachers were furious with me. And I think one day my mom had a call from the principal. The principal called me and my mom in, and we were terrified, thinking they'll be thrown out of school. But she said something to my mom, which I'll never forget until today. She said to my mom, "Your son has a great talent. You should nurture it." I think that changed, that collision, that sort of pivoting point changed my parents' perspective. And they really supported me through school, and I started Art Center College of Design and discovered advertising.
Wow. And then what happened? You found your first job in advertising.
Yes.
What was that
Okay.
like? And how did you come into who you are
Sure, sure.
as an advertising guru?
Yeah. Okay. There's some pivotal points in my career. Actually, it started in America too. So before I graduated in Art Center College of Design, there was a student competition, a national student competition called the Los Angeles Creative Club. And all of my classmates and I entered it. To be honest, when I was studying in Art Center, because it was an American school in those days, it wasn't easy because the way to really stay ahead in advertising, you have to understand the culture, the nuances, the American sitcoms, those jokes, and you really had to really understand what the culture is all about. So when I entered the competition, I didn't think of anything else. We just submitted. And so we entered during the night, right? Obviously, they were giving out gold, silver, and bronze. And throughout the night, I was seeing all my classmates going up to collect the awards. As I was about to leave, for the best of show, my name was called, and I was the first Asian to pick up the best of show for that particular awards. So that really jump started my career because I got my big break when one of the judges, her name is Jean Craig, which has an agency under her called Crescent and Craig, invited me to join her company. And for 3 to 4 years, I was working as a art director in a fantastic office, in a fantastic environment where everyone was so inclusive and supportive.
Can you share a memorable campaign where everything just came together and it had a huge impact? Is there an example, a case study that you can share with us?
Sure. Actually, a recent case when I was working BPDO, I think about 2.5 years ago, we were working on a project for a company called Ministry of Health Holdings, and they were trying to recruit Z from to become nurses and healthcare workers. As trying to recruit that generation to be a healthcare worker is really, really difficult. So we had to touch into their passion points. And one of the passion points that Gen Z really enjoyed was gaming, right? But not any gaming, it was gaming in Fortnite. So we created this game in Fortnite. And instead of killing to win, and most of the games you have to, take lives, right? To win, we changed the narrative and turn it around. And that's where we collided things, right? Use the opposite. And the game, in order to win, you've got to save lives. So the game is all about pairing two people as they go through the obstacles. When the health starts to fail, the more health sort of health pods you throw at them, the more they survive and the better chance of them winning. So that was a fantastic way to twist the narrative from killing to healing.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And how about an example where things just went haywire and then you had to overcome the obstacles? Do you have a story like that?
Yeah, many in advertising, you've got so many issues to fix, right? A lot of times the issues might come out from creative meetings when the client isn't responding well, or there are times where you had to fix the solution at the spot. It reminds me of a client that was very difficult for me to deal with, and obviously I can't mention the person's name, but we wanted to sell a key visual, and the key visual was artwork that shows the product benefits, shot beautifully, and it's laid out in its optimum sort of level of craftsmanship. So we were about to release it, but the client was not happy with it. He or she complained about the typography, the photography, everything was off and was just horrible. And so we just paused a minute and then let it sit. Because responding when people are not in the best mind is not the best idea. So then I just said really quietly, hey, that typeface that you wanted us to use, actually it was a typeface that you insisted a few weeks ago. And I showed this person the email. And that conversation then started on a different level when this person approved everything. So I think with every situation that we encounter, it's important to stay calm and really think about what your past experiences have taught you and deal with it in a very quiet and non-emotional way.
Excellent, excellent advice. What is a highlight of your career? What are you proudest of um, among your many, many accomplishments?
Might feel like winning awards is one thing, right? You're always excited to win an award, and that's a big accomplishment. I think one of the biggest accomplishment is actually, to be honest, writing the book in my
Yes.
creative career. Because, it's always easy to talk about, I'm going to write a book one day, but that one day never happens if you don't really put time and effort and really discipline to get this done. So Collide, the book, which is called by Penguin, Random Southeast Asia. It's best-selling book in Amazon and in Straits Times, and it was a sort of humongous effort to get it off the ground because as I'm not very disciplined and, putting things together, making sure that everything is in the right place in the right chapter and making it very readable for the readers. And one of the things that came up from the publisher Penguin is this a book that's been written before? Because creativity is very, very, it's quite a wide topic. So getting it through, making sure that it's readable and, winning some awards for the book along the way is probably my biggest creative achievement today.
Excellent. And share more about the creative process, and it's come out of your lived experience. So how does conflict spur on creativity?
Cool. So the book is called Collide, right? And in most of our creative work, as you can imagine, is born out of conflict. It's born out of tension and disruption. Without any tension, everything would be predictable, boring, seen before. So one of the things that I thought of writing was to go back to the basis of creativity. Whenever there is some tension, there's something to write about. And so the book is actually called Embracing Conflict to Boost Creativity. The word embracing was written because, most of us, especially Asians, we run away from conflict. But here we want people to embrace conflict. And I'm not talking about conflict about, starting a war, starting a fight, picking an argument. I'm talking about conflict that maybe every story needs a conflict. Let's think about it. Superman, the movie, right? Or any superhero movie, there is always a kryptonite, right? In every movie or an enemy. Without kryptonite, there is no Superman. So as you can imagine, with stories that have conflict and tension, it adds more lived experiences and it creates more excitement in the way stories are being unfolded. So conflict helps us to think creatively if we have an enemy, or we have to think the opposite. The more conflict you have, the better the stories.
Agree. And the resolution is at the heart
Yes,
of every book,
yes,
movie, you name it.
yeah.
Can you flesh it out a little bit more for our viewers? What kind of advice would you give them on how to be more creative, or if they're working on a creative project? How would you guide them on that? Tell us more about the tension, the conflict.
Okay. So say you're working for car company, and you're trying to create an social media advertisement for the car. One of the things that you should not do is to look at your competitors, because all your competitors are saying the same thing and selling the same feature. So my advice is to look outside of the category. So for example, if you're selling car, can you look into the hotel industry? Because the hotel industry sells service. Maybe you should take things outside the category and then combine it within the car category. So the conflict that I'm talking about is finding things that doesn't mix, right? Or doesn't go together. The other thing, it's about identifying two familiar things and then smashing it together to create something unfamiliar. But the way you smash it, you need to find a connection. For example, if you're looking to sell, fiery fries, right? Like chili fries,
Yes.
you think of a French fry, which is very, very common. Then you think about what is hot. What is fiery? So you think of fire, you think of, different symbols. But how are you going to combine to make it interesting? If you thought a bit deeper, what could give you fire that looks like a French fry? So after much brainstorming, maybe it's a matchstick. So how do you combine a matchstick and a French fry together? So it's a big award that's been circulating, and it's a French fry with a chili at the tip of the French fry that looks like a matchstick. So by combining two different things that is unexpected, you create something unfamiliar, surprising, and that will really excite your customers into buying something they've never thought of.
Oh, yeah. I'm fascinated by the creative process, and I always try to, when I remember, to think outside of the box. How do you stay fresh, and how do you nurture that creativity? I've read of some advice like brush your teeth with the other hand. If you're left-handed, brush it with your right hand and take different routes in walking every day. Do you have any personal tips that you abide by to nurture that?
Sure. So there are many, many tips, right? As you can imagine, those things that you mentioned, take a different route, use your different hand. We need to create new experiences for us to try, by staying curious. So if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, if you're doing routine work, then you're never curious enough to learn anything. So curiosity is key, right? And to stay curious, you got to be like a sponge, right? Absorb whatever you need to learn. For example, let's go with the train of thought about the cars, right? So if you're in the car industry, not only do you need to learn everything about the car, you need to go outside the market, you need to attend conferences, maybe tech industry sources. For me, LinkedIn is a great source to read everyone's thoughts. Also go to different social media. So I think being creative is never stop learning, never stop exploring, because something that you read 3 days ago, you could use it today or tomorrow. And inspiration can come from anywhere.
You've reached the top of your industry. Guan Hin, what is your secret sauce? You've won 300 awards. You're a sought after speaker. What would you say is your secret to success?
Number one, I think is resilience, because without the resilience, you're not able to overcome any obstacles. It's always easy to give up, right? And it's always easy to let your guard down and hope that things come along your way, because luck is opportunity and hard work, right? So I think by creating your own luck, it does take a lot of work too. The other thing too is about beyond the awards or beyond your personal achievement. I think it's how you train yourself to be emotionally engaged with the people around you. Because if you don't have the right support group, or you don't have the right friends or the right business partner, everything will fail. So having, good support group around you is key. And lastly, is to consistently to show up every single time, no matter if it fails, no matter how unsuccessful it is, because the more you show up, the better you get at doing things, and the more you are able to see the achievement. Sometimes it starts small, and hopefully one day you'll be able to make it big.
Oh, yes, excellent. And perhaps your early days of being misunderstood, where you
Hmm.
had this gift and you didn't fully embrace it, right?
Yeah.
Until a little bit later. Um, and it's become your superpower, right?
Yes.
Yes. That's inspiring. Let's shift gears to AI. I mean, everyone's talking about AI on LinkedIn and everywhere, the water cooler, so to speak. For creatives, what does AI mean? I mean, because AI can paint a painting faster and much better than a human, and that goes for most creative work. What are your thoughts on that? And then later you could share what tools you're using. But yes,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts? You've written widely about this and
Yes.
interviewed on other podcasts. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. When ChatGPT came out, right, everyone's so excited. It's able to write things for you. It's able to think like you. It's able to, generate so much stuff. And over time, you see a new tool every single day, right? I mean, you just see it popping up everywhere. And I think the problem is not that we do not how to use AI. There are too many AI tools to use, and we're not sure how to use it. And I think over the last few months, or actually last year, you're seeing things that are so AI generated that you're sick of it, right? And we
Yes.
call it AI slop. So I think we've gone from a shiny new tool that everyone wants to get involved in to something where if you see an AI created, or if you notice that it's AI, it looks fake, you don't really trust it. And I think there's a bit of rejection. So I feel that AI can generate, 1,000 options within a few seconds, right? But if you don't have the right judgment, if you don't have the right taste, or if you don't really give your lived experience, it becomes like everybody, it becomes too generic. So for me, which I've written this many times, right, is the taste, your good taste that will determine what's good and what's authentic and what truly matters. How you judge, how you filter. I feel like we've become editors more than creators, because if you're not able to edit the bad stuff, how do you know what's good? So to be able to use AI in a very efficient yet, authentic way, we need to be able to not only get the right resource, verify the resource, but then add your personality, your lived experience into your article, into the way you create stuff. Because if someone can create the same stuff, then it becomes too ordinary.
So well articulated. Are you a doomsayer? Do you feel like AI is going to replace creatives? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, that's always the question that keeps coming up. I feel that if you are a creative that is just into the craftsmanship of the work, you will be replaced. If you are a creative that is very average, then you will be replaced. So is the level of where you need to achieve that needs to go higher, because AI is going to be as common as your smartphone in the future. So if you're competing on this level, then what will set you apart is back to your skills of critical thinking, your skills in terms of editing, which I've just mentioned, and your skills as a personal business, as how you sell yourself and what sort of business sort of skills you're able to promote a business or able to try and achieve business goals. Because without having an entrepreneur spirit, I don't think you're able to achieve much further than just generating smart pictures or nice smart text or wonderful visuals without much thought.
Mm, yes, oh, that's thoughtful. And do you think AI could ever replace advertising agencies and book authors and filmmakers completely, or do you think that it's as you said, it's a tool that we'll have to use, and as an editor with our good taste, ultimately, do you think it could ever replace a whole agency?
It's a really good question, and I'll need to answer that with a bit of sort of a background. I think AI can replace average work. So if you're looking, and you see a lot on social media, right? I mean, you see a nice picture of a bottle and it's, nice headlines. All those
Yeah.
things will be replaced. I mean, you don't need to get creative people to do that because AI does it automatically. I think what won't be replaced, which I mentioned, is the taste and the judgment. But again, how you use the tools is really, really important. So instead of focusing on 500 tools, I think you need to pick you need to pick like 5 tools and do it really well. Do it so well that your AI skills is invisible. And this is what I mean. If you create AI work that feels authentic and real, and and someone can't tell whether it's fake, then you've got a job. But if you create work that gives off the AI vibes, then I think you need to work harder.
That's probably the best advice I've heard on creativity and creative work. Yes, thanks for sharing that. And what tools are you using, Guan
Okay.
Hin?
My tools are pretty basic. I mean, I do use ChatGPT to structure ideas and explore different frameworks. I use Gemini and Claude to, improve a bit of the writing. Obviously, I need to put my tone of voice. I use Midjourney and some image generation for visual experimentation, like I did this, Chinese New Year sort of greeting. I also use Canva in terms of putting things together in a very nice design shape. So I try to use new tools that sort of pops up here and there. But the problem is that the subscription fees, the credits you use is actually going to, empty my wallet.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to know what tools would serve your purpose instead of paying subscriptions. If you overpay too much subscription, then I think it's very, very tough for you to survive in business.
Who inspires you these?
hmm I mean, these days, I mean, there are a few LinkedIn, top voice people, but I think the the person truly inspired me was I have to give, credit to my dad, who actually helped to push my creative career earlier on, as I mentioned, previously. Because without my dad and my parents, I won't be here today, pursuing a career in art. And I feel that they've inspired me in more ways, and I wish I would have told them when they were alive. But looking back, after working in this industry, seeing how this industry has evolved, I think the people who inspires you, gives you, challenges you when you were younger, and gives you hope for the future.
And what would you want to tell your younger self about the work you do, finding your calling, anything that you'd want to say? What would it be?
It would be confidence. Growing up, as I mentioned, there was a lot of struggle, dealing with so many things. And over time, right, as you grow older, your confidence and esteem value starts to grow stronger. And I would tell my younger self that, no matter what you do, just keep on doing what you're doing, but you make sure that, you're confident in whatever things you set up to do. Because listen, when you are, especially today, right, on social media, sort of environment, there's a lot of critics, a lot of comments, a lot of things that get sort of puts you down. I think the confidence to believe in yourself, that's really key, right? Because without your self belief, without knowing who you are,
Yeah.
you'll never be able to break free from your old self to go to your new self without understanding about what you can do.
100% Guan Hin. Is there anything else you want to promote through your current work? I know you're the head person in Asia. Is this to inspire more creatives to join the advertising industry? And tell us more. I mean, is it difficult to recruit and find creatives in Asia because of the creativity isn't practical? You can't really get a job, as an artist unless you become an architect.
A career in art today is very different from where I started. Now, with content creators, with, now AI artists, and also there's a lot more to explore. It's just that the tools, the way that it's evolved over time has changed, but the thinking hasn't, right? So the mentality of the artist, right? To create something new, to create something surprising and unexpected is really, really key. So when I went to advertising, it was my way to earn a living because you can't be a starving artist. But at the same time, if you are a YouTube content creator, even if you're just eating, just doing, if you're just cooking, cook in a way that's uniquely you, that's also a way to show your creativity. I think creativity has become so much broader these days that if you do something, you got to do it really well. You got to do it in a way that represents you, and you got to do it in a way that nobody can take it away from you. And I think if you're excited, you are passionate about this world, you will definitely do well. In the one club that we sort of focus on, it was actually to really build a creative community in the APAC through agencies, through clients, through the young ones. We also have this thing called Portfolio Night, where we have the industry leaders mentoring schools, kids. So we are trying to make sure that the creative community stays alive, stays excited, but most importantly, it's not that, as creative people, we're quite introverted. I think it's about creating a support platform that everyone can grow stronger together.
It's so needed. And I wish I had that platform when I was growing up, Guan Hin.
Yeah.
Now, last question. What kind of impact and legacy do you want to leave behind?
I think part of it is about giving back. It's about giving back to the community. And that's why I wrote the book, which is, putting all the learnings into at least one platform. It's also about sharing information, whether we're helping, whether I'm supporting. But most importantly, it's a time where I'm able to reflect what I've done and to also create different communities, whether it's, coming up with a podcast for my book called Collide, or using Collide as a platform to teach as a workshop, or also, who knows, maybe opening up a school in the future. And there's nothing better than teaching to people who desire to excel in terms of what they want to achieve. And the world today we're living in, I mean, we do see lots of people giving through YouTube, through free courses, but I think it's where your heart is, right? I think if your heart is in the right place, that generosity is going to always be welcome. And I hope to give a lot more in the future.
Thank you so much, Guan Hin. I have no doubt you're going to achieve all your dreams and the giving back. It's so noble. Thank you so much for being on the show, Inspiring You with Sylvia Yu. To our listening and viewing community and friends, thank you so much for watching. Please get Guan Hin's book called Collide: Embracing Conflict to Boost Creativity. It's a best-selling book. I'll be finishing reading it soon. And he is just a font of wisdom. And I loved your advice on AI. You know, be invisible and use your good taste and good judgment to curate, to make it distinctly you. That's probably one of the best pieces of advice I've heard on AI and creativity.
Thanks.
So, and please reach out to Guan Hin on LinkedIn as well. So, thank you again, Guan Hin, and I'd love to have you come back. So,
All
let's
right.
do
My
that.
pleasure. It's been fantastic speaking to you.
Thank you.
All right.